booked a cheap deli Airbnb. Host warned, don't go in the back closet. Sealed, fine by me. At 3:12 a.m., woke to low knocking from inside the closet. Then light under the door, flickering, like a candle. Recorded it. Next morning, playback showed nothing, just my breathing. Showed the host. He just laughed it off, said old buildings make strange noises, nothing to worry about, he insisted. He claimed it was just the wind or pipes, dismissed my concern completely. It felt like he was hiding something. I didn't believe him. The light was real, not a pipe sound. My gut screamed something was wrong. I couldn't shake the feeling. That night I waited. I had to see what was behind that door. I couldn't sleep, the host's words echoing. My resolve hardened. I had to know. Fear warred with an intense need for truth. Quietly, I crept towards the sealed door. My phone light cut through the dark room. I found a loose panel near the floor. I knelt down and peered through the gap. Inside was just empty space, dusty and still. But the air felt heavy, strangely cold. The cold air seeped out, carrying a faint, damp smell. The stillness inside felt unnatural, heavy and suffocating. It was just an empty space, yet it felt profoundly wrong. Then a soft scraping sound echoed from the back of the void. It was followed by a low, almost inaudible sigh. My breath hitched in my throat. I jerked back from the panel, heart hammering against my ribs. The darkness behind the gap seemed to press in. I knew I shouldn't have looked. My hand flew to my mouth to stifle a gasp. The sound stopped, leaving only silence. The empty space felt like it was watching me now. I scrambled away from the door, back into the room's center. Every shadow seemed to deepen, holding secrets. The air grew colder, prickling my skin. Sleep was impossible after that discovery. I sat awake, listening intently to the silence. The sealed closet loomed, a dark, silent threat in the room. I considered leaving immediately, finding a new place, but a strange pull kept me rooted there. I felt a morbid curiosity mixed with dread. The day dragged on, filled with nervous anticipation. I avoided the closet door, yet my eyes kept drifting towards it. The silence felt louder than any noise. As dusk settled, the room grew dim and heavy. Shadows stretched and distorted familiar shapes. I sat on the bed, watching the sealed door, my nerves frayed. Night fell completely, bringing a deep, unsettling quiet. Then, just after midnight, the soft knocking began again. It was slow, deliberate, coming from inside. Soon, the faint light reappeared under the door crack. It pulsed softly, casting eerie shadows. The air grew colder, the same chill from the gap. The knocking became more rhythmic, a soft, persistent tap, tap, tap. The light pulsed in time with it. It felt less like random noise and more like a deliberate signal. I stayed perfectly still on the bed, listening. The sounds were undeniable this time. They were coming from something alive or something that wanted to be. A chilling thought crept into my mind. Was it trying to get out? Or was it trying to get me to open the door? Fear warred with a strange, morbid curiosity. I couldn't just ignore it now. I had to understand what was happening. Slowly, I slid off the bed, my eyes fixed on the closet door. The knocking continued, a steady, hypnotic beat. The faint light beckoned from beneath. I crept closer, my bare feet silent on the floor. The air grew colder with each step. The sound seemed to intensify as I approached. I knelt down again by the loose panel. My hand shook as I reached for it. I had to look inside one more time. Pulling the panel back, I peered into the darkness. The empty space was still there, but the cold was more intense. The scraping sound began again, closer this time. Then a low whisper reached my ears. It was faint, indistinct, but definitely a voice. It seemed to come from the very back of the void. My blood ran cold. It wasn't just sounds. Something was speaking. The darkness inside felt deeper, more menacing than before. The whisper was dry, like rustling leaves or old paper. It was too low to make out words, just a sibilant, breathy sound. It seemed to coil out of the darkness. A wave of pure terror washed over me. This wasn't just strange noises anymore. There was something in there, something that could speak. I wanted to slam the panel shut and run, but I was frozen, unable to move. My eyes were fixed on the impenetrable blackness within the gap. The whispering stopped as suddenly as it began. The scraping sound returned, louder now. It sounded like something dragging itself across the floor. Then, a single pale hand appeared in the gap. It was thin, skeletal, reaching slowly towards the panel opening. My heart stopped beating. The rough wood. A faint, dry rustling sound accompanied its movement. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, I slammed the loose panel back into place. My body finally reacted. I scrambled backward away from the door. Silence fell instantly behind the wood. The faint light under the door vanished. I was left shaking violently in the dark room. My heart pounded against my ribs. Every nerve ending screamed danger. I knew I had to get out of that room immediately. I fumbled for my phone, my hands trembling. I needed to call for help, or just escape. The air still felt heavy and cold. Ignoring everything else, I grabbed my bag and bolted for the main door. I didn't care about the host or my belongings. I just needed to leave. I burst out of the room and down the stairs. The old house creaked around me. I didn't stop until I was outside, breathing the cold night air. I ran down the street, not looking back. The image of that hand was burned into my mind. I knew I would never forget what I saw.